In this video, I am breaking down how exactly I price my video editing services. Today, I am getting real honest and real transparent. Hopefully these tips will help you on your own video editing journey and give you a little bit of clarity when it comes to charging and changing your rate for your video editing clients. Why hourly and not flat rate? First of all, for more tips on whether you should charge hourly or flat rate for your video editing, I highly encourage you to check out this video next for more information on that. However, in this video, I am talking about my bias towards hourly rate, or at least my temporary bias towards hourly rate, and why I don't do any flat rates. And the simple answer is really just because hourly rates are what I fell into when I was looking for jobs on Upwork. Upwork is how I got all of my clients at the beginning of my video editing career. And if you also are on Upwork, then you know that the majority of jobs that you'll see are hourly rates at pretty low levels in terms of money. But it's a way to get your foot in the door like anything else. So I like hourly because with a flat rate comes a lot of conditions. You have to protect yourself with a flat rate. You have to make sure you are estimating enough money. And if you are gonna take the client's flat rate in terms of their budget, which may be relatively low, you need to be able to say, I'll do this flat rate, but under these conditions. I can only do one round of revisions. I can only do this type of work. Anything else is gonna have to be a separate contract. Well, I didn't want clients like that. I wanted long-term relationships, and I was actually willing to take a smaller hourly rate if it meant having a longer-term relationship with that client. Now, if we haven't met yet, I am Colleen and I'm your video editing mentor. And in this channel, I help you to get a video editing job and to get paid doing what you love. So for more tips on that, be sure to hit subscribe with the bell so you don't miss a thing. Do I package my services? I am slowly converging to the package services mentality, where if you want a long-term basis relationship with me, you will need to pay this amount of money per month, and I can offer you XYZ type of services. Of course, that leads to me charging significantly more per month, which is something that I have grappled with in the past, and I am just now coming into a more full confidence with, simply because I am growing my business as a freelance video editor and I don't have time. I truly am stretched 100% thin on the current clients that I do have. So if I'm going to bring on a new client, they're going to have to come in at my full rate or higher, at a price point and a pricing package that works for me. What's the cheapest rate I've ever done? The cheapest rate I've ever done as a video editor was probably my very first job on Upwork. On Upwork, if you aren't familiar, it's so incredibly difficult, or at least it can be, to get your foot in the door and get that first job, because clients are normally looking at your rating or testimonials, and if you don't have any of that from Upwork, then you kind of need to play the game a little bit. So I played the game and I found a job that was for $10, flat rate, $10, and it was for a doctor's office. They needed some basic editing for like 2 videos, and they were probably like 2-3 minute videos where I did some basic editing, and then I think I created a lower third for them. And I was so excited to do this because I was in a pretty dark place in my life. I had just decided to go all in on my freelance video editing career, and at the time I was technically unemployed. So it was kind of a sketchy, scary time for me. So taking any job at any rate was super exciting for me. And so I did that job, and again, it was so basic. I probably finished it within a couple days, if that. And the guy did leave a review on my Upwork profile, it's probably still there. And it really only took that one job for me to then get my next job, because I had a nice rating on my profile, and along with my own application skills that I do believe that I have in terms of being very friendly and professional, I was able to get my next Upwork job. What's the highest rate I've ever done? The highest rate I've ever done are, as they should be, the jobs that I'm doing now. As time has progressed, I have slowly gone from that meek $10 an hour to all the way where I am now, where as far as my hourly rate goes, I have the ability to charge $40 an hour for my services. And I actually have been deciding whether or not to start charging $50. I keep telling myself to, but then every time a job comes around, I stick with $40. But I believe that I do deserve $50 an hour, and for the amount of value that I bring to clients, not only with my video editing, but with my professionalism, with my understanding of what they're looking for if they are coming to me for help with YouTube or with social media. So I will say $40 to $50 an hour is my current rate, and I do have more than one client at the $40 an hour rate. Now, does that mean that they're my highest paying client? No. In terms of the monthly amount of money that I get from them, my highest paying client is not at the $40 an hour rate, which of course stinks when you're doing more work with another client who's not paying you as much as you think that you should be. But in my freelance process, I am going for the long term, and I would rather have long-term relationships with clients that creates a stable, relatively stable income for me as the months go on. But my goal is to nail a job down at the $50 an hour range, or at least in the sense of, like, even if I package my services, it's still at that hourly value of $50 an hour. That's my goal. How often do I raise my rate? This is not the best question for me, because I am sort of a do as I say, not as I do when it comes to my rate. And that's because when you get into a relationship with a client, especially when it's long-term, if you're not set up in the best way possible with like full transparency of how you want to move forward with your rate, it can lead you down a path of working at the same rate for a long time with a client. And then you start to think, well, they're grandfathered in. You kind of have this mentality, this like sentimental mentality with them, where you even feel bad charging too much because of how much they've done for you in terms of long-term stability. Having said that, it does definitely get to a point where you need to have a conversation, and I actually did just have that conversation with one of my oldest clients, where things were kind of starting to change, and it was the perfect time because they were starting to pick up work. They are starting to pick up work in terms of video, and I knew that I needed to start implementing that conversation of being able to raise my rate. And not even a very significant amount. I mean, $5 an hour even is an acceptable amount to raise your rate. That makes the client still feel comfortable. It's not too much, but in the long term, it does add up. And so that was after like years of working with them. But moving forward, my goal with that client is to be every year to bring up the conversation again in the future. Now, I have other clients where it's more of an every 6 months I like to have a conversation with them, because I've instilled that workflow and that relationship from the beginning to have that be the standard, to where every 6 months it's on their brain of, hey, we're gonna need to talk about this again, which I think is the better way to go. And so if you are just starting out with a client, or you haven't brought on a client yet, when you do, make sure to say to them that you would, you're willing to do it at this rate, and you can guarantee this rate for them for the next 6 months. Or a year, however you want to do it. Especially if it's a lower rate, like a significantly lower rate than you would normally charge, to cater to them. You could say, well, I can guarantee you this rate for 6 months, but after that, we're gonna need to reevaluate it. Because one thing that happens with long-term relationships as a video editor or any craft or any skill that you are giving to a client, you are increasing your value with that client over time. And so, I mean, all of my longer term clients, nobody wants to replace their video editor at this point because of the amount of time that I've spent understanding their brand and their message and getting the workflow down to a science. Nobody wants to replace that. So my value is actually very high with all of these clients, and I would be in my right to be able to raise my rate even more with them. But you gotta take some, you lose some, you gotta give and take a little bit when you're in this world, because for me at least, long-term relationships are what I'm after, and I'm not in this business to make $1 million. I'm in this business because I love what I do and I love the clients that I'm able to bring on, and I'm willing to do what it takes to keep those relationships, to make my everyday workflow as seamless and easy and stress-free as possible. Now, this video is part of a series all about making money as a video editor, and so if you haven't already checked out this video, make sure to check it out next on creating your rate as a video editor. Be sure to hit subscribe for more tips on video editing, creativity, and freelance lifestyle. Again, I am Colleen. Thank you to my team, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Have a good one.